Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who see me for the first time ever, my name is Sergey, I'm a freediving instructor trainer, and today I want to talk about CO2 table, which we can call one breath. One breath is not its official name, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but for the simplicity let's call it one breath. Before we start talking, first of all, it's not the greatest idea if you are complete beginners to start training with this table. This is a little bit more advanced way to train your static. If you are a complete beginner, I highly recommend you to start with a no contractions table. If you don't know how to do it, the link for this training is going to be in the description, and also I'm going to put the link somewhere on the top of the screen. So the idea is to do training without any contractions. Then I think the next step, if you keep training for a while with no contractions table and then you're ready to start training your CO2 tolerance, then I think it's a good idea to start training with the classical CO2 tables. There are some critiques of the classical CO2 table because people saying there is no too much exposure to the CO2 level, which I agree, but for the beginners it's totally fine because you need to get used to high level of CO2 slowly. And then only when you was practicing for a while classical CO2 tables, then you can start training with this one. So what is the idea? The idea is to accumulate as much CO2 as possible in a short amount of time. So this table is quite time efficient. What is the idea? You do your relaxation breathing. You do relaxation breathing for a few minutes, and then you do a big nice breathe in and let's say hold your breath for 30 seconds only. After 30 seconds over, you exhale, then you inhale, so one breath, one exhale, one inhale, and then you hold your breath for 30 seconds again. After 30 seconds is over, again you exhale, inhale, and hold your breath again. How many attempts to do? Quite often people do 10 times. So you can see this is for whatever reason, this is a common number. Again, I don't know if there is any science behind this number like 10 times, but with this specific table, quite often you can see people do it 10 times in a row. There is no problem if you're going to do it 6 or 8 or like, I don't know, 11 times, but quite common it is 10 times. So idea is to accumulate as much CO2 as possible. What number to start with? It's pure experiment. So start with the 30 seconds. I'm quite confident that if you're going to try to do 30 seconds, it's going to be pretty easy for you, right? But it's fine because you try to find your correct time, and it's better to start with the small numbers. So let's say you did 10 times, 30 seconds, and there's no contractions. It means that the table was way too easy for you. So on the next training session you can try to do 35 seconds and let's say still no contractions. Okay, next training session try to do 40 seconds and maybe on the last couple you have a few contractions. Okay, you're coming to your time, to your correct time for this table. Let's say you try to do 45 seconds and then maybe half of your attempts, maybe 5 times it was no contractions, and then 5 times with the contractions. Okay, so probably this is the right time for you, and you can maybe train for a while with the 45 seconds, and then in the future you can try to do a 50 seconds. So I think you get my idea. Make sure that you increase the time really gradually in this table, so don't jump with 15 seconds or with 20 seconds or even with the 10 seconds. Jump with a 5-second step. So you try 30 seconds, really easy, piece of cake. Okay, do 35 seconds. 35 seconds, still easy, do plus 5 seconds more, etc, etc, etc. So what is your goal? The goal is do this table, find the time. The goal is to find the time which make the table hard but doable. So if it's like unrealistically hard, then maybe you pushing yourself too much. But when it is too easy, then again it's going to be no training effect. So find the time which is hard but doable. And when you found this time, just stick to this time for a while. Don't increase it all the training sessions. How often to train this table? Before I answer, I want to be sure that you watched my previous video about how often to train breath hold. If you haven't, first watch it. But if you already watch it, here is my answer. When you just start experimenting and you do a really easy time, and let's say for example you did it for the first time and there is no contractions, okay, then you can do it tomorrow. You can do it every single day if there is no contractions. But when you start coming close to the correct time, when let's say maybe half of the session is going to be contractions, half not, then you maybe don't want to do it that often and you're going to do it 2-3 times per week. But when you find like real correct time for you, when the table is really hard but doable, then I think 1 time per week is going to be enough. Because again, if it's going to be really hard table, and most of the time people do this table like really hard, at least this is how I like to do this table, when it is like you are so close to give up but you still keep doing, so then it's pretty exhausted. Like after finishing this training you feel pretty exhausted. So this is why I don't recommend you to do it too often. Maybe once per week is going to be a good number. You still can train no contractions table and then from time to time do this type of training. Another small tip, that of course you can do less than 10 attempts. So for example, let's say you was doing 1 minute breath hold, 1 rest in between 10 times. And then let's say you try to do 105 and it was impossible to do it 10 times. It's okay. You can, for example, increase the time and in the beginning do less attempts. So for example, you was doing 10 times 1 minute, but then when you start doing 105, maybe you can start doing like 8 times, and on the next training session 9 times, and then on the next training session 10 times, and then only after that maybe you can jump on the next number, which is going to be like 1 minute 10 seconds, etc. Okay guys, this was a video about this kind of CO2 table. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. If it was helpful, don't forget to click the like button and I will see you next time.